Good evening or good morning, folks. It is 9:28, Sunday the 19th. It's Eastern time for me, so it is about 1:30 in the morning GMT time, Monday. So let's take a look at Forex for the week. We're could be coming into ranges on a lot of pairs. We are at a lot of key levels, pretty much across all the pairs that I look at, and so we're going to have a lot of options and reaction points to work with this week. So the question is, which one of those is going to work out best and provide us the best confirmation? So let's take a look. We'll start with pound New Zealand dollar. As you can see, we're pretty much at the bottom of our range, so we could see a counter move long from there, but that doesn't give us much of an opportunity for distance. We could potentially see a pullback to short anywhere between the 4-hour 55 and basically the top of the 4-hour Dynafibs. You can see that the 4-hour Dynafibs has definitely provided resistance in the past, so we can look to short there. You can see that also corresponds with our fib. However, if we take a look at the daily, again here you can see our possible bottom here, possible triple bottom. If we move our fib up and fib the daily, you can see that that puts our 4-hour 200 daily 55 combination range. So we'll go back to the 4-hour on that. And you can see our new fib that puts us closer to the top of our zone. So those are all potential areas to look for shorts. I definitely wouldn't be looking at longs until we get above the daily 200. So just keep an eye on where we react to and where we get a good confirmation from. A lot of that's probably going to depend on where price moves over the course of Monday, where our reaction level is going to be at. All right, so pound CAD, we did have a solid break below the daily 200, which of course gives us our area to look for a pullback to, pretty much anywhere between the 61.8 fib, and we should hit the daily 200, but if we don't, we could pull up into this area, pull a little bit short of it. Of course, if we do break it, we're not going to immediately look for longs because we have the daily 55 4-hour 200 combo, and you can see that all the EMAs and the 4-hour Dynafibs kind of make our no trade zone. You don't really want to trade in there because it's definitely going to be an indecision area as to where price is going to be going. All right, pound odd, potentially we have this 4-hour triangle. You can see we gapped on the open, we gapped down and immediately moved back inside the triangle. The problem with the triangle is we have the daily 200 here. Let's go back to the 4-hour. We have the daily 400 here, and then we have our top right around WR2, which is a pretty decent resistance level. You can see our top area there coincides with some previous support and resistance, even though it did get a little bit messy. So there is some room to trade if we do see the triangle break. Just be careful around those levels. If we break it, it is a decent amount of pips. It's about 200 pips to either side. So 200 pips to the daily 200, about 230 up. So potentially some small trades there. And we can look to trade a bounce off of the daily 200 and also trade a bounce down off of WR2. Pound yen, we fibbed off the daily fibbed from this high here. That's kind of the pullback on this leg, and then so that moved down. Of course, we had this pullback here. So I have fibbed from there because of the positioning of the EMAs and support and resistance, but essentially we're looking to short again off of the daily 200, daily 55 combo. If we go bursting through there, then we can definitely look for a long setup, basically above. Probably want to look to go above 180, but definitely above the monthly pivot there. Pound USD, we're still not able to really have a solid break above 105. So right now, we're potentially looking for a short to form from the daily 55. Euro New Zealand dollar, we've continued the move down, although not as strongly last week. So we definitely want to look for a pullback potentially to the 4-hour 55, which may move down some. So if we fib the last 2 weeks, you can see that here with the top of the bullish 4-hour Dynafibs, it's basically a midpoint area for price that was support and resistance, and then the top of our fib is going to be up here at the 4-hour 200. So if we do get a larger pullback, we can look to that area. However, currently I'll keep my fib down here and look for a trade between the 4-hour 55 and WR1. That'll be my first reaction point. If we do get above there, I will look for the bullish Dynafib to hold. EuroCAD is continuing with the downtrend. This is another pair where we're pretty close. We're right on the 50% fib. So we could see a bit of a punch up to the 4-hour 55. If we are looking at bigger pullbacks on the Euro this week, this is another one where we can adjust the fib if we shoot through our area. Just up to the top of our sideways movement here, which of course is a resistance area, and then look for trades around the 61.8. The 50 was last month's low, and we have the daily 55 coming down to meet the 4-hour 200. So again, another pair with lots of reaction points to look at. We will just have to see what price action gives us. Euro Auto, I've got a couple fibs on here. We've got the shorter fib, which is just last week, but we did close up a little bit. But you can see that we have gapped down, and the gap has come close to closing, but hasn't closed, started to move down pretty quickly. So if we continue to see this area act as resistance, we could get a trade down from there, which of course is our 80% fib. And we have the 4-hour 55, which will still be within that fib level. If we do see a larger pullback, you can see that I've fibbed on the daily here from last month's high to the low. And within there, we have the super convergence zone, which we'll see if that gains strength this week. And that's going to give us the daily 55 and the 4-hour 200. If we do break above the daily, look the daily 55, look for price to reach the daily 200. So we may see, you may be able to get a small trade in there if we do break up that far. Euro JPY, I fibbed the last 2 weeks top to bottom, and we're currently sitting just below the 50% fib. And right around the 4-hour Dynafibs, which we have the 4-hour 55 there as well. If we stay within the Dynafibs, look for a breakout, which also encompasses the 4-hour 55, and that should provide us with a good short signal. If we continue to move up, we have our super convergence zone here and the 4-hour 200, which is just below 130. So 130, of course, is going to be a key resistance level, and we can look to short from that level as well. All right, odd CAD. We had a bit of a pullback at the end of last week. However, I fibbed last week from the high to the low. You can see that the 4-hour 55 has held, so that's going to be our first area to look for a trade. Look for that to hold and give us a signal to short. If not, look for price to get back up to the daily 55 4-hour 200 combo again, and that'll give us another opportunity to look for short trades. Of course, we're not looking for longs until we really get back above the daily 200. On JPY, this is a fib on the daily from last month's high to this month's low. So we could be forming another range here. However, last time we did not stay above the daily 55 too much. You can see this was also roughly our top last week. Potentially we could be ranging from the bottom here, and we could have a top form at the where the daily 200 is now, around 94.50. AUD USD looks like we are forming our bottom here. We have broken back above the daily 55. We could potentially see a move up from there, or we could break back below it. As you can see, we didn't move too far above it. The last time we moved up to 179.30. So you can see that I have a very large fib here. This is the a fib from the weekly leg. So it's going to be from where we pulled back to the daily 200 and then moved away. You can see where we're potentially forming a bottom here. And we have quite a large distance from the daily 55 to the 200. However, we do have 179.13 to 179.35, which has been resistance in the recent past, so we may be able to catch a short from there. So potentially, if we continue moving up and we find resistance, we can see a short potentially all the way back down to the bottom, but keep an eye on, of course, our zone of the EMAs. The other option is we come down and the daily 55 holds, we move back up and look for first profit take at WR1. If we do continue to move higher, of course, we have 8,000, and then above that we have the 200, the daily 200. All right, New Zealand dollar JPY, again another pair where we may be forming a range. Of course, it's a little bit dynamic right now, so we have a bottom somewhere in this area, but it's been following the daily 200 a little bit, and then we have a top up here right around 92, just below 92. So if we're going to continue moving up to break that range, we can look for pullbacks and look for potential reactions around these EMAs. Of course, those are going to be kind of a midpoint of our range, so be careful with that. We could fall all the way back down to the daily 200. We can also look for counter trend shorts from about where we are now. New Zealand dollar versus the US dollar. This is another pair where we have potential fib on the weekly. So this is from the bounce here. I've fibbed from this point to the low. And that puts us right at 61.8, the daily 200. So that's definitely an area I'm going to look to hold for a short, potentially all the way back down here, which is quite a big drop. Of course, we do have a lot of mess in here. So my plan will definitely be to get to break even quickly if we do get a trade from there, and then just to hold until we move back down to the bottom. Potentially, if we do break the 200, we can see a move up. If we do break the 200, keep in mind that we had this range for quite a while, and we could find resistance in that area again. So either way, long or short, the trade is going to require tight management, at least to break even. US dollar versus the CAD, we've kind of broken out of our range on this pair, which is a little odd given that we may be forming one on the rest of them. But we can potentially see a pullback basically to the bottom of our previous range, which is where our EMAs are clustered, and a short from there. However, if we take a look at the daily, this was from where the daily 200 was broken, that leg up. If we take a look at the weekly, so we take a look at the weekly here, it's this leg up, and you can see that we're currently sitting on the 61.8 fib, and you can see where we have the two tails where we've stayed above that level. That's also going to coincide with the bottom of the daily Dynafibs. So potentially we have a counter trend long in this area, and then we can look to short around the EMAs. And also we have, if we move back into the range, we have the top area here, anywhere from 126.41 up to 127. USD JPY, we have a couple fibs here as well. So if we fib the weekly starting from 12.5 to the top, all right, so I couldn't really find a color that stood out. So we do have the 38.2 here. The 3.6, 50, and 61.8. And you can see that these have all coincided with areas where prices reacted to. So decent support and resistance. These are got a little bit messy, but that's expected when you're in a range and you're in, have a top and a bottom. You expect support and resistance in the middle to look messy. So potentially this 118.75 area down to basically the 38.2 to 118.40. That's given us good longs in the past, and it can give us another one now towards the beginning of the week. If we do break below pretty much this below 118, then we could potentially see a drop back down to the daily 200. Of course, we have this area at 116.40 to contend with. All right, so now let's look at the shorter term fib. You can see that we've moved back down to the bottom of our shorter term range. So I was thinking we might be able to potentially see a short in here if we were going to break down earlier, but I don't like that plan anymore, so we'll get rid of that fib from last week, and I want to basically look for longs off the bottom, and then maybe a potential bounce off of 120, and ultimately look for 121 to break. Again, if we do see bigger pullbacks below the 118.75 area, keep an eye on the levels on the larger fib. Any one of those could turn out to be a support area where we may be able to catch a long from. Just be careful. Remember, you don't want to try and catch that falling knife. All right, Euro USD, we're pretty close to 50% fib here, and that's the 4-hour 200. So obviously I'm looking for a short from here. First concern is going to be whether we break back below the 4-hour Dynafibs, 4-hour 55, and then first profit take is going to be the recent low. Potentially, if we do get above the 4-hour 200, we can look again at the daily 55, which is our 61.8% fib as well, to short from there. If we take a look at the daily, we can see where I fibbed. This is another little unorthodox fib. It's from our support and resistance level here. I'm sorry, it is a support and resistance level, but it's not unorthodox. It is last month's high to last month's low. All right, so that's it for the week. A lot of options on a lot of pairs, and potentially moving into some range trading already. So just make sure that you are paying attention to those candle patterns and price action. Make sure that you have good confirmation and momentum behind your entries, and we should be able to get some really good trades this week. We'll see you all later.